Hello, guys. Welcome to Proverbs with James, and this is just a place where I share some of the profound proverbs in the Bible and just sharing some of my favorite ones and why they're so important. Just talking about them in general. So, these proverbs are, of course, based in the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is also a part of the Hebrew Bible. The notable author that shows up in the book is none other than Solomon himself, the wisest man who ever lived. In fact, the first words of the book says, the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. He was the wisest man that ever lived. And so I would argue that it is wise to listen to what he has to say. The book of Proverbs is very practical. It contains practical steps of life. It talks about different themes. I would argue that there's no theme that's not touched in this book. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and exhaustively talk about the book of Proverbs. I'm just sharing one thing at a time. In fact, by no means is this a comprehensive study of this book. It's just sharing some of the amazing things that are found in this book. And so before we dive into this, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do that so that you are updated each time I post a video about a proverb. In this Proverbs series, notice I've called them Proverbs because I think they are profound. They are, is it proficient? They're just Proverbs, very important and very interesting as well. The first proverb that we'll be talking about is found in Proverbs 1 verse 7. It really summarizes the theme of the entire book. All proverbs are built upon this proverb. This is the one thing that you don't want to miss. It's like the entire theme of the book of Proverbs. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Interesting, right? You would think that the beginning of knowledge is school, or the beginning of knowledge is, that great scientist, or that great poet, or that great writer. But no, the beginning of knowledge is the fear of the Lord. Let me read that again. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But why would that be, right? I think one thing that really stood out to me here, or that came to me as I read that, was that, have you thought about this, that knowledge is not a man-made thing? We find knowledge. Knowledge is not something we create. You know how there's this law that says that energy cannot be destroyed nor destroyed, but is only transferred from one form to another? Well, to some extent, it applies to knowledge. Knowledge cannot be created. You find it here. Think about all the things you know right now. Before you were born, they were probably there. What about discoveries that people make? You just said it. They are discoveries of things that are already there. In essence, we don't come up with anything. In fact, the very word knowledge is very interesting. To know, it simply means to acknowledge that something is the way it is. And to just link that up, so then where did knowledge come from, right? That's the question that you have to ask. If knowledge is not something we create, if knowledge already is, then who created knowledge? Who gave us knowledge? And the answer is simple. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That is the answer. God created the heaven and the earth. God is the one who gives knowledge. And any other knowledge is simply a deception or a corruption of the true knowledge. Think of things like evolution, right? You cannot prove that thing. It's not true, because any person with common sense senses that there is a God, which is why this says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of the Lord. What does that mean? It doesn't mean to fear the Lord as in to always be afraid that if I don't do everything that God says, I'm going to burn in hell. While that may be true, that's not the motivation for trusting God. In fact, the way it's written here, it's as if, and it is, we owe God reverence. We owe God reverence. We need to acknowledge that He is and allow Him to work in our lives. Because if God exists, then He's the sovereign of the universe, and He is supposed to be the true source of knowledge and wisdom. He's supposed to be where we get all our facts, all our information. Because if we create our own, then it is not true knowledge. It is deception. Think about what you're missing out if you do not know God. If you don't know who God is, that means you do not know who created you, which means you don't even know the plans He has for you, which means you will definitely miss out on those plans, because as much as He tries to communicate them, you won't get them, or you're not there to listen or to hear. So this was very insightful for me. And then, of course, in the book of Proverbs, we will find that the author contrasts two types of people, two classes of people. You have those that are wise and those who are fools. And really, it doesn't take so much, it doesn't take rocket science to be wise. Neither does it take rocket science to be fool. All you have to do to qualify for being a fool is reject knowledge, reject wisdom. My people are dying because of lack of knowledge. So love knowledge, seek knowledge. Don't be a person who thinks you know everything, but always love to know, because there's so much truth that you need to know, especially the true knowledge. But what is the beginning of all this? Fear God, reverence God, acknowledge that He is, know what are His requirements, follow them, love Him. He created you. He's a father to you. Love Him. He first loved you. It is your turn to love Him. So don't reject instruction. It says, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. There's some people who just don't want to be told what to do. I think that is like identity, misunderstanding who you are, because there was a time when you didn't know anything. And just like there was a time you didn't know anything, today is also a time when you don't know everything, which means you are, I was going to use the word liable, but you need instruction, you need correction, you need counsel, and you still need to learn and to know, because nobody knows everything. I think there's another saying, it's also found in the scriptures. It says that he who thinks he knows nothing. And so you just have to maintain that humble spirit. And I think that's one pretty important lesson in life. And I hope that you take this lesson in your life and apply it and see the results for yourself. So thank you so much for joining me for this proverb number 1. I realized I had actually shared some of these posts on social media, just, a picture, but I thought, you know what, this is so interesting. I just have to share this. So thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you are updated on what's coming next. Bye for now.